I think, you know, for my experience, my personal experience coming from beauty, there is a lot of, I think, parallels in that world to cannabis. You know, you want to walk into a store, and I know cannabis is different than traditional retail in a lot of ways. You know, you go into Macy's and it's like, you know, Christmas lights everywhere and ribbons and bows and all that. And that's not what I'm saying. Where I'm really going is more in terms of the switch out of the signage and the collateral and the easel backs. And it could just be like, you know, you have these 10 elements that are always changing and everyone knows how to change it out because it's the same thing every, you know, few weeks or every couple months or whatever it might be. And then you're always going to the same thing. And then I think for people that have multiple locations, it's even more important to have the system in place. A retail experience that is consistent and memorable. When you have multiple footprints, it's harder to do that, but it's totally possible. I mean, you go into a Sephora, you know what to expect. It's even laid out in a way that is easy to shop because it's familiar to you. You trust Sephora because you trust the experience you're going to have. It's not too many messages, and it's not, otherwise you open yourself up to confusion for the consumer, operational drag for the retail team, because now they got all these deals. They have to know how to make sure that they honor these different deals. Maybe something on the web isn't showing up in the store and people are confused about whatever the case may be. So not trying to boil the ocean, but to identify in a simple way, we can execute this and be effective. And we can have one thing going, like, you know, maybe it's summertime and you have like a beach bag kit and you have those elements and it's very clear what that thing is. And maybe that campaign runs for a while, and maybe some things kind of change out. But the big thing is, like, this is the idea, you know, and this is our focus. We're going to promote this. And we might have daily deals, but you could find that here. That's very clear. Daily deals are here. You know, there's a lot of people are not wanting to miss a sale, but they get in their own way when it's like, and this, and this, and this, and this, and then you're just overwhelmed. You're like, okay, well, if you go into any store and you're like, and this, and this, and this, I don't know. But if I know this is on sale and the rest of this is, you know, presented in a way that's like compelling, why does everything have to be on sale? It's kind of a little bit of people, a lot of dispensaries are competing on price, and it's a race to the bottom in a lot of ways. Like, let's just create a better experience. And some of the places that I see something similar is really in a lot of the shopping experience. When you think about beauty products, it's often a very personal experience for the shopper. There's a lot of communication that has to happen, education has to happen. So there's a lot, I think, there's a lot of learnings and best practices from there that I think is applicable to cannabis. And, you know, I think in terms of, I guess the low-hanging fruit that we often recognize when we're working with a retail partner is really making sure that the initiatives, the marketing initiatives, the brand initiatives, the conversation connects from whatever's going on in digital, and then they get to the dispensary, and then it's a different kind of presentation. When you think about the translation of digital into the built environment, the communication needs to continue in a way that feels natural. And when we approach retail, we really look at it from a macro view, thinking that your first point of contact is probably one of those avenues, one of those streams of social or web. How do we continue that conversation in a meaningful way? There's a number of things thinking about traditional retail where you know, we would consider what the conversation should be as you enter a space. You know, it's more about really the brand. It's more about the retailer. As you enter the actual retail floor, and if you are walking directly into a retail floor, the first thing that, you know, we would consider in traditional retail would be an opportunity for promoting new and notable. You know, you see something on social, like let's say a retailer is promoting a new product. You want to see that when you go into the store. You want to repeat that. You want that conversation to continue in a cohesive way. And not only does it give you a better opportunity to sell that product and present it in a meaningful way, but it makes a cohesive experience that helps build trust with customers. I think there's also something about walking into a store, seeing something new and feeling like they're on top of it. They're showing, new product, and it should be relevant too. It shouldn't just be new things. Going through the store experience, there's that launchpad presentation, which is the new and notable, whatever the feature is. And then, there's also opportunities for education. There's opportunities for, talking about supporting your brand partners. There's opportunity for additional marketing, campaign continuation and touch points. Then there's places for impulse buy, but all these things happen in different places. And it's important to really have a plan for the path to purchase to ensure that the customer journey is meaningful and intentional. Just allows for a more robust and memorable retail experience. When we think about the retail experience and looking at a macro view of where the touch points are, we're considering things like, what are the sight lines? Where is the customer likely to walk next? It's interesting here in the West, a lot of and this might be a consequence of driving on the right, where there's a tendency for consumers to turn right when they walk into a store. And that tendency is an opportunity when you are, especially in new markets where maybe cannabis is not something people are familiar shopping. There should be an education component that is very easy to come upon. Often we'll recommend that kind of location where you walk in and turn right, and just give them a starting point for what is the shopping experience supposed to be. And again, this is really very relative to new markets. I think it has its place in older, more sophisticated markets. But we like to find a place for that communication. That could be high level. That could be the various delivery methods, the onset, what are they what is the actual product look like? What is the purchase for the different categories? What makes sense in terms of dosing? So there's a lot of things that could start to communicate, and then it kind of puts them at ease a little bit. So then browsing is another aspect to the retail experience that often seems to be overlooked often, right? One thing you don't really want to do is try to reinvent consumer behavior. But there are certain aspects to the effects of different strains that we could promote. But I think if you have a place to start the conversation, it makes that shopping experience better, right? So like if someone is coming into the store, they're not sure what to buy, but they know they can't sleep, and they see a sleep section, that gives them a place to go, and then it also gives them talking points. One thing that can happen when you go into a dispensary and you walk straight to the POS or straight to the bud tender, the most common question is, what do you recommend? That sale is very dependent and weighted on what that response is from the bud tender. So there's already that conversation starting, and then there's the opportunity to kind of go further with it. Or what else could go with this? Or I'm only familiar with edibles, and then you cross merchandise in that category, some other products that could support it from, So I think, there's a lot there, but I think in terms of getting back to the customer experience and journey, I think, and also the communication with the customer, I think when they're at the POS, if they have a talking point, they feel more comfortable, they're likely to go a little bit further with, where other things could maybe help them out. They also, I think people feel the pressure of the sale. When you walk up to a counter, you're not sure what you want, you ask for a recommendation, and then it kind of ends there, right? Because you feel the pressure of someone behind you, maybe waiting in line. There's a missed opportunity to better service that customer if, they were able to be a little more educated, whether it's about brand, consumption, or, delivery. There's just a lot of places to kind of plug in there. And then, on the brand side, there's a lot that you can do to better support your brand partners in retail. One of the things that we've employed that's been successful is, utilizing a kit of parts system that allows you to update for brands in a way that they can customize it without having to think about a whole retail display. That does two things. It allows them to move quicker, but also it delivers a solution for brand representation that's not different everywhere, and it fits within the retail aesthetic, right? So whatever your retail brand aesthetic is, it conforms to that thing. So coming up with a templated solution where brands can come in, kind of plug in to your retail environment. I mean, that's what happens in a number of places in traditional retail. You know, a lot of brands, we work with a lot of brands, we do a lot of packaging. And often, you know, brands will make quite an investment in this product, right? So they'll spend a lot of time to make sure that there is a shelf presence in the packaging, but that only takes it so far. You may have beautiful box and you might have some interesting and dynamic elements to the packaging, but if it isn't supported in a way graphically, if it isn't supported with collateral or display that honors that packaging or that brand or promotes it in a way that, you know, stands out from everyone else, then it's another missed opportunity. It's like you did all this work, spent all this money, got to this point, and then drop the ball on shelf presence. It's like that's the sell. That's the final sell, is making sure that someone wants to pick up your product. There's something that is compelling about a dynamic, you know, display. It's even more important when the packaging can't do that for you, right? Like if the packaging can't do that, you need something to help elevate it and make it interesting, make it something that people want to bring up to the budtender or have questions about. There are some obvious things that you know, you should consider. That's probably pretty obvious. When you walk into a room, your eyes are going to go straight ahead. What is that thing? Are we talking about brands? Are we talking about the retail brand? Do we want to really tailor the experience so the first thing they see is something new? Again, going back to that, the convergence of marketing and retail and digital marketing in particular, I think the opportunity to centralize collateral messaging and marketing, it needs to be thoughtful. There's a great use for digital. It's easy to update, it's quick, it's fast. And the way to do that is to start to employ systems. There's applications like Canva is effective in you know, working on a campaign and then having those templates and then thinking intentionally about how it's showing up. So like things that need to be printed on in potentially on site. And if that's the case, if it's like a shelf talker, pricing, or a promotion with an easel back, or a new brand partner you want to elevate, or whatever that period promotion is, you want to be able to create that collateral quickly. So there are ways of doing that. I think, you know, we discussed the idea of a place in the store that always, and it should always be the same place that showcases the new product. When you promote it on social, you could promote it in that one spot. That one spot should feel really interesting and dynamic and a focus. Everyone wants these Instagram moments. It's like, well, have a moment in your store where there's something dynamic and cool happening, and promote the product, and then they could find it in store and then see like, oh, that's where they shot that. It can be intimidating because it's a different type of product that people are not used to. So you want to make it comfortable and affordable and approachable. I think affordable in terms of the retailer being able to make adjustments easily. And then if you do show your product and you promote it, then it's easy to find. It's easy to know where it is. I think that's a great place to open up consumers to other deliveries. The right impulse buys at the cash wrap are also important. I think if you're able to keep it focused to like, all right, if you got someone in this part of the sale, what else makes sense here? I also think that the area behind the POS is often underutilized. I think people focus a lot on putting menus up, and maybe they're all repeating or scrolling the same content. I think you need to assess what you currently have in store in terms of your digital elements and utilize them in the way that makes the most sense. They don't really have to be menus all the time. That's a missed opportunity to me. You know, that to me is like a place where maybe you do something even better with the brand. Like you do something there's some kind of like cool installation that's about the retail brand, or some kind of opportunity for, again, promoting certain SKUs or cross merchandising SKUs. There's an opportunity to promote or tease the upcoming promotion. It gives people a reason to come back, right? So like, it's not just like, what's the deal today? And at the cash wrap, maybe there's like a little tease of, oh, Munchie Mondays or something like that. I think you have to be careful with how many promotions you have, because we don't want to tell too many stories at once. I think when you have a clear marketing strategy and period promotions where you're kind of running those, there's probably a main campaign that you're running. Some retailers get a little scatterbrained, or they just want to promote everything. And then that doesn't help. So I think it's important to be targeted and to focus, know what your focus is with the marketing. When you have a system for collateral, there might be things like, maybe there's a freestanding sign in the front of house that maybe supports whatever that marketing initiative is. And maybe that's where your launch pad is. And then, there might be easel backs like at check-in, like you walk in, there's an easel back at check-in. Maybe that's about the marketing promotion, the larger promotion. Then maybe there's a small one about that other thing that's going on as a daily deal. Fine, that's fine. And then, you walk in, you see the sign, it's reinforced. You kind of go to the cash wrap, it should be reinforced in different places. I think when you go into holiday, the idea that isn't considered holistically across the store is crazy to me, because I think there's definitely benefits to simplifying and systemizing. I think that's huge for retailers when they're able to put systems in place that they could deploy in a meaningful way and consistently. It's going to create more loyalty and trust and just a better overall experience.